Hey folks, you're uh, you're looking and listening to Food for Action. This is our conversation platform, and I hope that everybody is energized up. I want you guys to forgive me. I was trying out a new software scenario um, so that I can do um, three different platforms at the same time. There's still a little bug in it, so I found out that to um, it did go through to Facebook, but it wasn't getting to two of the other places. There was like some weird thing happening, so I'm going to try to get that situation all fixed up before Wednesday. Um, but as you can see, I have my glasses that you can see today. You can see my eyes, so I am here. The headaches are cool today, so it's fortunate when I don't have to wear those dark things all the time. But at least I have them to protect me when the headaches are in full bloom. Anyways, so we're here, Food for Action, and as you guys know, this is the platform for us to discuss what exists in this country today called racism. It's been here since America's inception, and it's still here now. And it's big, and it's bad, and it's evil, and it's hurtful, and it kills. And we have a lot to discuss about today. I invited a bunch of people to come in, not as necessarily a special guest per se, but as a guest um, via either typing or if they do want to come on. But this is just kind of some folks that have been discussing, having discussions throughout the week. Um, so we'll be talking about a lot of those things today. If you're not familiar, I'm going to go ahead and read this statement because it's very important. It is what I consider as the mission statement of this live stream. If you're around when you get here, just let me know that you're here. Tell me, say hi, or whatever way you want to communicate is fine. If you have questions, if you have feelings, if you have opinions, if you have whatever, I want everybody's voices to be heard. This is important. It's a conversation. I know primarily you hear my voice, but as you definitely can see if you look at my Facebook profile page during the week, you will see that there are many, many, many people that have been taking advantage and engaging in the conversation. And that's, people with many different, thought wavelengths and experiences and so on. So there's a lot going on. I'm proud to be and blessed to be able to do this with you guys every week, and even for you guys that look at it later on. I do want to say thank you guys because I am well over 1,000 watches, or I don't know what the heck they call it, clicks, whatever it's called, but on via between all of the different live streams that I've done so far. We are well over 1,000. We're approaching 2,000. So it's amazing what God can do with someone as weird as me. So anyways, but I love you guys. Let me read this mission statement. Food for Action is presented by SBTSBC. I and we acknowledge and express the racial divide, racism, oppression, exploitation, systemic racism, violence against black women, black men, and black youth in the United States and all over the world. I and we will proactively help create a path to a true United States in America. And this is, of course, via this platform and via conversation. So that's what we're doing here, And it's very important that I note that this is for everybody. This is, if you believe that your family is dominant over every other family in the world, if you believe that if you believe that racism is supposed to be this, I mean, whatever you believe, I want to hear from you, and I want all the watchers and listeners to hear from you. It's important. I get the um, I get the task of going through your posts and um, and the things, all the different stems and whatever that you guys do during the week, and I am full-fledged. I put a lot of time during the week into um, watching, sometimes not joining in, but watching and reading the things that you guys are saying. That means the good and the bad. So, I want to shout out everybody, not only from my stream, but I want to shout out everybody that is having a conversation, maybe a conversation that they wouldn't have had before, and they're having it now. But also, I do want you to know that, if you're uh, if you are part of white America, and you are part of that system that wants to hold black folk back, then I'm watching you. And now there are hundreds more, and thousands more, due to this live stream, that are paying attention. And you can't hide. Hate can't hide. Just so you know. And so I'm one of the hate busters. We're trying to get rid of that. We're trying to get rid of the element, or people's need for having those feelings of hate against one another, and especially um, um, because of race. It's a horrible foundational system that was instituted when this country, and before this country was in existence. But it definitely is part of the fabric, unfortunately, of the United States. And so we, I want everybody to be aware of who's around you, who's part of your friends. Look, unfortunately, this week, I had one person that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but a person that I knew since high school days, and this person, because of the conversation that was being had between a few people and her, she now, I guess, blocked me or left being a friend or whatever, and it's sad and it's unfortunate that some people, because they're challenged, because their mindset or their thoughts that they have, maybe some justly because of experiences. I don't know all those things, but what I do know is that when it amounts to hate in the end, or when it amounts to purposely be ignorant, or to just to block out certain things just because they don't fit the way you believe it. Well, I think when that happens, that and you can't handle the conversation and the challenge, then I continue to pray for you. But there is challenges that are being put out here now. I mean, I've been making it. It is important. A lot of people. There are so many different things that people are saying these days. I can't even. So many things. Leave it in the past. One of the famous ones is that this country will get over racism when people stop talking about it, or race baiting. Obviously these people have not walked outside in a long time. Maybe it's because of the pandemic. I don't know. Or maybe they just live in a sheltered part of society where interactions between black folks and white folks aren't very prevalent. I have no idea. I don't know those in and outs, and that's why I'm trying to have this conversation, is so that we can. I want to understand, but for anyone to say that it is race baiting. Uh, hey, Brian, Dales, how are you, sir? I would love to do that, man. I would love to do that with you, sir. My phone number is accessible, or just, why don't you send me a message, and I would definitely do that. I'd definitely love to have you on mine, and I would definitely love to be on yours. Let's do it. I'm about that. It's about the conversation, and it's about making sure that we can bridge the gaps and find how we can all come to terms with what has happened, which is why things are the way they are now. Again, when people talk about the race baiting, people don't understand it. You have to, until there is an acknowledgement of what happened in the past. Until that's acknowledged fully, then we won't be able to understand fully to the level where there needs to be, the level that it needs to happen. We're not going to have that type of understanding, because it's not just George Floyd. This is, maybe some of you who aren't too versed in African American history, but everybody probably remembers the series that came on way back in the early 80s, I think it was, Roots. So, and Kunta Kinte, that used to be a little thing. People started not only just knowing that, but using the phrase Kunta Kinte when they were talking about slaves. But that was a story of slavery in his family, Alex Haley. And so, and all of you who know of that understand that there is a history, and those things that happened, those families that were broken up, those kids were torn from parents, wives torn from husbands, everybody separated and sold to this person, that person, and the other. Because of these things that happened, that is why there is a deficiency when it comes to all of the systems that exist in America today. That means every system, from government to education to manufacturing, judicial. If you can name a system that exists, corporate, any system that exists, there's a deficiency, a lack of representation of black and brown people, not because we're not qualified, not because we don't want the positions, but because the doors aren't open, and they're not open for so many different reasons, varying reasons per person sometimes. Maybe not having the access to achieve certain credentials from your neighborhood, and so because of that neighborhood, and you not having those accesses, then you don't have some of those things on your resume that you might have had if you had access to some of those other schools, or some of those other jobs that are lesser in level in some of these corporations and so on. So there's so many things that or it could be a family issue, where you couldn't go to college because your family was so poor or destitute financially, that economically, that you couldn't afford to go to a good college that could put you in line to have certain positions. So there's so many things. And for the people that say, well, that happens for white people too. Well, yes, there are people of all nationalities that have some of those same life experiences. But for black people, it is a more prominent problem, because it started out as us not even being considered people. We were considered property. And so when you're starting out as being property, and you're trying to move into being a person, and then move to being a respected person, and then a well-respected person, and then an affluent person, when you're trying to work your way up that ladder is 400 plus years long, the history. And so you have to work your way out of that many hundreds of years of overcast or overshadow, because in order to find ways, to weave ways to get into the positions that you want to get in. It's very deep, and I think a lot of people choose to ignore it because I know that, and I can tell you things and read you things. A lot of people literally just listen to whoever else is saying that it doesn't exist. A lot of people, I mean, there's so many. It can be mind blowing. That is why it took this many years, and your Breonna Taylors and George Floyd's and Ahmaud Arbery's. It took those things to happen in this time with this ability, capabilities, technological capabilities, in order to actually bring some of these things to light. You know, I mean, if you remember back to the Rodney King thing, well, that was captured on a video cam or whatever, right? A camcorder. Now people can catch things on social media. They can catch them on their phones. There's more access, and what's happening is that more people, white people and other nationalities, are being outraged as well because they're seeing these things that nobody told them exist, or they refuse to admit it because they didn't see it, or acknowledge it because they didn't see it. They didn't have that available to them, and they don't hear it in their circles, and so on and so forth. So it's a very interesting and horrible dynamic, and unfortunately, this is what it is. Excuse me. Apple juice. Hold on. So, anyways, before I go too much further, I wanted to do just like I spoke about Reverend C.T. Vivian and Representative John Lewis. I also wanted to speak about somebody that I posted about earlier this week. I hadn't heard much media-wise about it, and but I think that it is very important to make mention of Mimi Jones. Mimi Jones, and let me pull up this information that I saved about her, because for all of you who did not see my post about her, this is a very, very significant hero that a lot of people don't talk about, unless you're again well versed in African American history. It unfortunately has gone by the wayside of most people, and which is very unfortunate. So I wanted to make sure that I shed some light on this American hero. Her name was Mimi Jones, and Mimi Jones was an activist as a teenager, very young teenager, out of Georgia, and then she had to do with the swim-ins. So there was many things, sit-ins. There were in stores and buses, and there were all different kind of things that activists were doing in order to fight for our freedoms as humans, to be able to access the same stores and hotels and buses and so on that white America was able to do, and we weren't allowed, or we had to sit in the back, or so on. Just another way of oppressive actions. And so Mimi, she, along with some other folks, they had to do with the swim-ins, where they would go to different hotels as guests of white people that were staying there, who were helping the civil rights movements, and they would go to the pools or beaches, and there was some very horribly bloody in Florida, some horrible clashes, and let's see. I wanted to read this about this one to you because it's very, 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 very significant, because this is what actually ended up making headlines, and it has a twist to it, which is very, very interesting. So, um, so what happened was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, they were having this swim-in scenario, and when they went to the hotel, invited by some supporters that were white. They went to the pool and they were swimming, and the owner of the pool went and poured acid in the pool, saying that he was cleaning the pool while they were in the pool swimming. And this got world, or at least nationwide attention. I believe it was worldwide as well. And I couldn't imagine. And that didn't even stop them, because they continued going to other places. But on that same time frame, they also had a very big one at the beach, swim in, and it was horrible. It was horrible and bloody, and but Mimi Jones was a 16-year-old, and she just as Reverend C.T. Lewis and John Lewis. She fought till the very last breath. She was always teaching. She used to teach black folks who couldn't read and write. She would help teach them how to read and write so that they could vote, and that they could, at least get some of the little things that were available at that time. So just an amazing hero, amazing black woman who sacrificed herself and her life so that I could be sitting here doing this, and other folks like me doing this, and on the marchers and the other protesters, and so on and so forth. So Mimi Lewis, we remember you and we thank you, and to her family. And she also had a sister, I believe, that was also instrumental in the swim-ins. So just amazing folk, and excuse me, and you wouldn't hear about this probably unless me, or maybe a local area news station, or something like that, Atlanta, or maybe a major cities. But I just thought that it's very important to know that there's more, and there's more. So I'm going to try to bring up many folks that have passed away that were American heroes, and many folks that are still living. I'm going to do my best to give them props, shout outs, and thanks on these live streams, because it's very important, and I want you all to know. If you guys know somebody that I don't know about, or I haven't mentioned, and you want them to be mentioned, please type it in. Let me know what's going on. This is a forum for all of us to have a conversation, and that's what we should be doing. So, let's see. Why am I not seeing comments yet? Hold on a second, except for Brian's. Let me see. So, I don't know if you guys can hear the music in the background. I think I got that fixed too. So I made a little, just a little background, little house thing to go on. So, because I hate silence. Silence is yuck. I mean, everybody has to be quiet sometime, I guess. I don't know. But, okay, cool. All right, so moving on, and I will have that thing fixed for Wednesday, where I can do YouTube. It'll be coming from here, Facebook, YouTube, and this other website that one of my other black powerful people told me about. And so, hey, John, man, how you doing, brother? Appreciate you, dog. Holding down the fort there, right? South Carolina. Hope so. Make sure you tell other people about this. I appreciate it. So let me move to some of the topics of the week. So I wanted to I wanted to talk about something. When we have these conversations first, and I said this a little bit last week, but I think it might have, sometimes people get really emotional. So, hey, Amanda. And so I want to, and thanks for the pictures, Amanda. I want to make sure that everybody understands that engaging in these conversations is essential. But the name calling, uh, there's a difference between having wit, or you know, playful banter and all that kind of stuff. Sure, but when it gets to name calling, where it gets ugly, and people are saying, FUs and all that stuff. That convolutes things, man. That defeats the whole purpose. You know, if you can't get a point across without using vulgar language, or and trust me, I know, sometimes the F word, as long as you're not calling somebody or being attacking somebody, sometimes it makes a point. Comedians can tell you that, you know. But I'm just saying that, when you're on this platform, please just be respectful of everybody. Look, it doesn't matter how much we disagree, and we're going to disagree. Um, but that doesn't give us the right to curse each other and bully each other and all that. That's not necessary. All right. I'm sure you guys see, and like my guy Christopher Gillard, he does an excellent job of just trying to of speaking knowledge. I'm hoping to have him on here soon. But he kicks knowledge, just crazy stuff, man. So that people can understand. If you look at some of the posts that I've done, and so I want to make sure that when we're doing stuff, we're mindful of just common love, courtesy, respect. So, anyways, moving on. I wanted to bring up a point. It's a term called racial gaslighting, and I wanted people to. And I'll be posting some stuff about this as well. And by the way, I hope everybody saw the post that I put about the education system, schools, because I posted that off of W. Kamal Bell's. He posted that. I love that dude, man. He kicks mad knowledge, and he's hilarious too. And he does a show on Sundays at 10 p.m. Shout out to him. He rocks it, and so you never know. He might be coming on the show soon. But anyways, so but racial gaslighting. I wanted to bring this up. So when you're having conversations with people, you start to understand. If you pay attention, if you don't let your emotions get too caught up in it, you're able to start to see how much thought and how much time and studying and listening people put in to what they're saying. And you'll find out when you hear certain phrases. And I wanted to say some of these, and there's millions more, but I wanted to say some of these because these are some of the more common things that you'll hear people say when they try to argue either about the existence of racism or about the purpose of talking about racism, talking against, saying, we shouldn't be talking about it, or we're race baiting, and all those things. When you hear that, when people start saying stuff about, police and whatever, and first of all, let me reiterate, we don't hate the police. We don't hate the police. We don't hate white people. We don't hate America. We love all three of those things, and probably more than other people, because we take such a harsh attacks and such harsh, cruel treatment that and have been as a people, black people, we've been through so much that we're still here and we're still trying to strive and we're still trying to get your attention, which means that obviously we must love this dang on country or else we wouldn't be here. So take all those things out of the way. As far as the police goes, when people talk about defunding the police, it's not getting rid of the police department. It is taking some of the monies that are put and split around into all these, if you look at it, some really crazy things within the police departments, or unnecessary things, I'll say, and taking some of that money and pouring it back into the communities that they police might just help a neighborhood out. Just saying. But, so I just wanted to make all those things straight. And when you talk about white people, I know that I love white people. My mom's white. My daughter looks white. My baby's mama, she's white. My ex-wife, she's white. So I don't know. My ex-girlfriend, who I wasn't planning on letting anybody know that because I didn't want to offend or intrude on if that wasn't something that she had told her husband, but that's Amanda who I'm talking about. So she's white. But anyway, so I love white people. But so that's a non-starter when you're talking to most people. But again, back to racial gaslighting. So I want people to pay attention to these phrases when you're having discussions with white people about racism. And you will find out who is trying to understand and who is really trying to engage you because they want to help solve the problem that we're dealing with. So, first comment, I don't see color. So, for a person to say, I don't see color, you can't even metaphorically say that because it's a visual given that God gave us. So God gave us these different hues because of the beauty that He wanted to create. Just like everything else, trees are green. Leaves are green. Bark is brown. Dirt is many different colors. So he gave these colors to things and to people for a reason because that is God's vision of beauty. So that's what we are. So for you to say that you don't see color, anyone who says that, that's the most ridiculous thing to say ever in the universe because we all see color. Impossible not to unless you're blind. And that's just a fact. So let's take that one out of things. So when you hear somebody say that, that's kind of a fluff piece. So then if you say, are you sure, excuse me, not you, if you're talking with a white person about racial issues and that person says, are you sure that's what really happened? If you're trying to express experiences and knowledge that you have obtained of black people or as a black person to a white person and they question that, then they're questioning the content of and the intentions behind you and you presenting this to them. If I experience a situation like my head being slammed up against the back of a police car when I did nothing wrong, and I was in the back seat of a car, and that person was doing some wrong turn or whatever they did, and because of and I'm the only black person in the car, and they take me out, and then that's not a did that really happen? That obviously happened. I told you. I'm telling you it. I experienced it. I was there. I felt it. So again, more gaslighting. Another phrase. It's not all about race. Let me be definitive when I say it is all about race when we're talking about racism. It's completely 100% unequivocally about race. The problems that we're talking about. As a black person, I'm talking to you about them because I'm black. Not because I'm a person. No, because I'm black. A black person. A black man. So when people are expressing these things in conversation to try to communicate what we live, what we experience, it's real. It is what it is, and it is based on that because we know that it is based on that, and it has been proven that it is based on that. let me leave that there because if I don't want to say the wrong thing and then have anybody be upset. So actually, I want everybody to be upset because then maybe that'll motivate you to move and get up and learn something. But let's go to not all black people face racism. So this is another one of those statements, and I don't even see the point of that statement because there is no group of people anywhere that all of the people went through all of the things. There's always some people that might have been sheltered from a situation or 2 or 3 or 12. That's just life. So again, just another generalized fluff to comment to try to, I guess, to see if they can get you to not continue talking. They don't want to hear anymore. They don't want to accept it anymore. And so, oh, no, well, not everybody. Well, not all. Yeah. So these are things that when you're talking to people, when they say these things, you have to be mindful of them and don't let those statements intrude on your conversation. Because what happens a lot of times is when people say things like this, then you get frustrated, you get an argument mode. Don't do that. Don't feed into this. Just continue. Get your point across. Let's see. Black people should just comply and they won't get killed. Let me see. I don't even think that I even need to explain that one if you just look at any news. If you just listen to anybody, complying, yeah, you understand. I don't have to explain it. I mean, we've seen several examples of that just being not utter nonsense. So, okay, people might listen if they protested peacefully. There you go. So there are some people in this world that have folks believing that every protest now is violent and looting and this and that, and those are the things that they focus in on their news shows or radio shows or what have you. That is entirely not the case. Most of these protests were peaceful and are peaceful, and there are a certain subsection of people that are the bad people. What we're finding out now, if anybody is paying attention, is that some of these people that are doing the looting and the whatever, turns out that some of these people, after the investigations by FBI and by DHS and by whatever that other Homeland whatever, is that we're finding out that some of these people are white folks who are standing alongside that aren't part of the peaceful white folks, that part of the white folks that stand up for us. They're just infiltrating and peppering themselves throughout these some of these marches, and they're actually instigating the vandalism and violence. So let's wake up. Keep your eyes and your ears open, and you'll understand. You'll see, because these numbers that are out there now, the numbers of white people that are standing up with us, the numbers of other nationalities that are standing up with us, is amazing. Back in Martin Luther King's time, when the civil rights marches and so on were happening, there might have been 30% or less that thought that the protest that they were peacefully doing then, that they were even in a group of American white people that even agreed with that. That's 30% people. There were 68, I think, percent, somewhere near that didn't agree with the peaceful protests that were happening back then. And we know what happened back then. We've talked about it last week, about when John Lewis getting his head smashed in, skull cracked, almost died, so on. So that was what it was then. Now, totally flipped around. Now it's close to 78, 80% of white folks that are now standing in agreement. Even if they're not out there, they're in agreement of white American households that are in agreement with the peaceful protests. So all the people that are trying to pretend like it's all about some looting and hurting and whatever, you're wrong. And you should wake up. And you should look outside and see what's really happening. Don't just let somebody tell you that something is ugly. Go look and see if it's ugly. Okay? Let's see. Next. How can there be racism if we had a black president? I only wanted to tell you that statement because I think I would hope and I feel in my heart that I would be insulting people by answering that. I think that anybody who says that to me or anybody else black that is talking about racism, if they say that, I believe that they must think that me or whoever the person is just stupid. And I don't want to insult anybody. I just want to say that if you hear somebody say that to you, if you have somebody say that to you in the middle of a conversation, another part of gaslighting it's ridiculous. And so I don't think I need to go any further because it's obvious why we had a black president. Whew. Okay, only a few more. The next one. There's no need to worry about the police if you're not doing anything illegal. Maybe at the end of the show, I'll read the names of all the people that weren't doing anything illegal. Oh, not all the people, just a couple hundred of them that in the past 20 years, a couple of hundred of those people, read their names. People who were not doing anything illegal. And then maybe that'll get the point across without me having to say them further. So, let's see. The last two. Here is one that I hear all the time. So, somebody's saying something to you back in reply, rebuttal, or even in general conversation sometimes, and the person will say, I wasn't being racist, you just took it the wrong way. So, let me say, I'll play devil's advocate, and I'll say, there sure probably is a portion of folks that may accidentally say something a little bit out of line. But these days, and I know way back, nobody cared. They would just be racist and that's it. But these days, with all the PCing going on, I'm gonna believe that people are on their toes so much. And this has nothing to do with class, this has nothing to do with where you're from, whatever. This is just because if you're awake, alive, eyes open, breathing breath, if you say something that's racist, you know it. Either right when you're saying it, way before you said it, or at least the moment after it spewed out of your mouth. So, if you're gonna say you took it the wrong way, no, my friend, you said the wrong thing. Or did the wrong thing. That was racist. And that's it. Okay, last one. Why can't they be peaceful? MLK was peaceful. So, this is the last one, and all I can say to that is, my friends, if you see the overt horribleness and nature of what folks are doing to us, and how horrible people are responding to the peaceful protests, I could see a couple people being really mad about that, and I can see some things getting heated. But again, 99.9% of what's going on with the protest, with black people, for black people, and with the white folks and Hispanic folks and other folks that are joining in, let me be clear. They are peaceful. And it is not until somebody else orders somebody's to do something to rid an area of the protest or get us out of there or whatever. Until that happens, things are 99.9% of the time peaceful. So that is my gaslighting tutorial for the week, hopefully. People, keep your ears open, keep your eyes open while you're having these conversations. It's important to make sure that you are giving folks an opportunity to learn or to at least to hear you. And when you realize that they're not really listening, when their ears are plugged or their minds are plugged, you must do better to. We must do better to make sure that we are understanding those things, those gaslighting things, the put-offs and so on, and we must strive to get our points across so that even if they don't understand at the end of the conversation, maybe it will echo in their head at some point. So that is that section, and we now move on. Give me 1 second because apple juice is calling. So now I'm going to talk about some people that were on Facebook today. Excuse me, over the last, but I was with you on Wednesday, so some folks that were Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's 4 days ago, I think. Boy, my math is getting horrible. Oops, I forgot. Oh, I left some people. Oh, your 6-year-old. Oh, he was. Oh, nice. Very cool. Nice. I hear you. Tony. Oh, man, what's happening? I'm sorry I didn't see it. I forgot to scroll while I was doing all that. Tony. Good to see you, man. So, let's see. I wanted to talk about, oops. Just turned on an effect by accident. Sorry about that. I want to talk about a few people, as I do each week, a few people that are expressing racist-leaning things. And oh, nice, very nice. I see that, Amanda. Very nice. Okay. Yeah. Some things are being said in a racist undertone, in the middle tone, and I wanted to make you guys aware of these things because if we're not aware, as I say every week, if you are not showing yourself, studying to show yourself, what's the word? I can't remember. Sorry, I'll remember. Anyways, you have to make sure that you're studying enough to understand what's happening around you. And especially at this time with the pandemic and so on, and a lot of people not working, you have plenty of time to do that thing that is always used to baffle my brain, but you have plenty of hours of the day now that you can go on Facebook and learn something about yourself and about those around you. It's very, 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 very important to understand who your friends are, who your acquaintances are, who your just Facebook friends are. You have to know who these people are, and you have to be knowledgeable about what they're thinking because they're expressing it. What you're going to find out, and what I'm finding out, and I'm amazed sometimes each day, is that people aren't afraid to say all kinds of hateful, steering stuff on Facebook, and it baffles me sometimes. I should be used to it by now. all the hours that I'm putting in, but it baffles me that people. I mean, I guess I appreciate it more maybe that people aren't scared to tell you what's on their mind. I mean, that's why we're doing this. So, but when I see some of these things that people say, it goes from the harmful but not so, not so large things like racism doesn't exist. I mean, I see this and I look. If the Klan can admit that racism exists, then I think probably anybody else should be able to. So, anyways, so this week, one of the posts that I did was of a march, but it didn't catch the people. It just caught the signs, and the main sign says, "How can you dot dot dot?" Well, it's only two dots, but they should have put a few more. It says, "How can you have black friends, listen to black artists, is in music, love black culture, as in clothing, dances, party styles, clothing, so on, art, anyways, and be silent when black people are murdered." So that, to me, is a true statement, and because I even talked about it last week. Oops, here we go, we're cutting off again. I gotta restart it. I'll be right back.